Hello everyone, Zelrant here, and for today's video on Umamusume, I thought we'd talk a little bit more about the next champions meeting, the Gemini Cup, and what I would consider some of the best Umas going into it. And so, taking a look at the map here of the final part of the race, one of the biggest things that's different from the Taurus Cup, well, first is that it's a long race, basically the Tenno Show Spring, so the stamina requirements are going to be a lot more strict on this one to actually be able to finish the race. But the other big thing is, as you can see here, the late race starts on a straight, as well as the last spurt being dominated by a straight, which is going to change significantly on the skills you're looking at. So this pretty much makes what a lot of people are looking to get, whether it's the Taiki Shuttle, Maruzenski, or Majiro Ryan alts, way less relevant in this one, and you're actually looking more towards getting those straight type skills. And so that's actually changed kind of the meta on the Umas, not only that you want to use to a certain extent, but also the alts that you're wanting to inherit. And so when it comes to looking at some of the Umas that I would consider some of the best, one of the ones right off the bat that we just had their banners just dropped off, it's no longer available to get, and the one I'm going to be building is going to be Narita Taishin. Now, she is going to be very hard to build for the fact that her 20% is in guts and 10% in speed, and stamina is going to be the big sticking point on this one. You're going to want to max your stamina out, and you want to max your speed out as well. And speed's going to be pretty hard to max, but man, not having any bonus to stamina is going to make her very hard to hit those stat caps. Because like I'm looking at potentially having to run like a 4 stam, 2 speed, and then just get lucky on my numbers. And then you also want to get as high of power as you can as well, because of the hills and that within the game to make sure they can get up them. And because they can just putter out there just as easily and get past on the uphills as well. But the biggest thing that you have with her is, one, Nemesis is a really good one as well, as it's an increase to speed. One of the biggest things is because how long the late race and last spurt is. Getting higher speed is going to be a higher priority in terms of actually being able to pass people, because you have more time to pass than the Excel skills, which is another kind of reason that invalidates certain skills that activate so late that they already are at their top speed, and that's irrelevant on the acceleration part. But you have that paired with the fact that she is the only one currently available with Encroaching Shadow, which is massive in terms of the acceleration to get up to that final speed on the last spurt after you trigger your other skills to increase speed. And she's the only one that can get it. Everybody else will have to stick to straightaway spurt, which they can get it either through an inherit from her, kind of having it on her kit, and then she can get the white spark to pass it on. Or there's a couple other power cards, I believe they're all power cards that have it, that you'll have to get onto a white spark, because you definitely don't want to use a power card. And I'll just double check it. But I believe... Oh, why is it not checking out? There we go. So if you look at straightaway spurt here, yeah, both of the, well, you have a stamina card with gold ship card. This card sucks because there's so many skills on it. You don't want to use this skill or rely on it for picking up a skill, because there's just so much. You can't rely on it for the hints. And then this one's also a power card, and then you definitely don't want to use rare cards as well. So you're going to definitely want a white spark on it, because if you look at this gold ship card, there's so much on it that, and it's not coming from an event, it's coming from a hint. So like 90% of the hints on this card are garbage, or they don't really synergize at all. So you have straightaway spurt here and enclosure savvy. That's probably the only two really that I can see right off the bat on here that'd be good. So you definitely want to get that white spark, and that's what makes Narita Taishin really good, is that she just comes by default with probably the best skill, as well as the gold skill for this race. And then her ultimate's not bad as well, as it's an increased speed on the final corner that she can then excel up to very quickly with Encroaching Shadow on that last spurt. And she should just blow by everybody if you have the stat caps and actually trigger all of her skills correctly. That's Narita Taishin. She's going to be very hard to build, and not everybody has her. So that's looking at the next best option when it comes to the enclosers. I think everybody's probably seen how much she's dominating the medium currently, and that is going to be Gold Ship. Gold Ship's basically the same reason that Narita Taishin's good, other than the fact she does not have that gold skill, but she can inherit straightaway spurt. And she, by default, one of the big things that's really nice for her, because you're going to want to try and, like, 2 recovery skills are mandatory. If you can pull off getting 3, that's going to be massive. And Goldship has a very easy way to do that, because she has a gold skill that no one else has access to currently, which is Go Home Specialist. So she has this as a way to get an easy 1 recovery. Then if you want to go all the way to 3, all you need to do is get, of course, Swinging Maestro from Super Creek. And then the other ones from the free card that we all have access to from the story. The Majuro McQueen has, I believe it's called Cooldown, which is a long specific gold recovery. Bam. She has a very easy way to get 3 recoveries to basically ensure she's going to be able to finish the race if you're able to max cap her stamina, which is the other benefit that Goldship brings, is that she has 20% stamina and 10% power. This is massive on making her very easy to build. You could probably go into this with like 3 speed, 3 stamina. If you have fairly good sparks, kind of a mixed match of power and stamina, maybe you can go a little bit higher in the speed cards because you might be able to hit them on stamina. It'll really depend on your parents on where you kind of mix them. But it's probably going to be like a 3 and 3 on speed and stamina, and you should be able to get very close to, at least you should max out stamina and hopefully get close to maxing speed and as close as you can to 1,000 on power if you do all that. But her being 20 and 10 here makes it's so much easier. So she's going to be the easiest to build overall going into this CM. And she's kind of my backup plan. Once I get all my parents and stuff made and I start trying to make my Narita Taishin ace, if I'm just not seeing the numbers, she's the backup plan. The nice thing that'll be about building Narita Taishin, even if she ends up being a failure for trying to get a good build in, she's a very good Uma for, like I said, inherit into Goldship. She has straightaway spurt, which she can easily get a white spark because she can get it every single time you run her. And so the other big thing is very high affinity. And this is kind of one of the big things I think is quite different from the Taurus Cup that I think will make certain parts easier. Hitting the stats is going to be probably the hardest. Getting better inspirations, I think, will be a little bit easier as long as you can get the parents. The parents are the most important part. But the reason being is one of the things in the Taurus Cup you're trying to do, especially if you're building a gold ship, was you're using Maru Zensky and Taiki Shuttle and Majuro Ryan, which overall, when you look at them, like, well, I'm using Narita Taishin here as my example, but it's very similar to Goldship on the affinities. When you actually look at their affinity starting points, down here at 9 and 8, I mean, you have Majuro Ryan, which is a little bit higher because she's kind of that late surger end closer, but she can only be one of your parents. And then you were trying to also get a Taiki Shuttle and Maru Zensky, so the most likely were your other parent, making it where it was very hard to get good affinity. But now, like, you look at Narita Taishin, top affinity, gold ship. And so you have a good parent gold ship, you put her right in there, as you can kind of see here. Easy to get up there. Then you have, like, the other big pickups that have other good skills. You have, like, Symboli Rudolph, which is pretty good. Like, everybody else is kind of default in that 17, 18 range. Makes it where that's basically the big thing. They have much higher affinity amongst each other in terms of everybody available and all the best Umas going into this one. Which, looking at some of the other best ones, Narita Taishin's good, like Goldship's good. Symboli Rudolph's going to be good. Now this is also bringing relevance to, like, Majuro McQueen. Like, if we look at her, if I go here. Okay, McQueen's going to be good. Now, she's not going to be your end closer. Now, I do know Pace Chasers will struggle quite a bit, but she can go as a Frontrunner / Pace Chaser. But her biggest thing on hers, biggest thing you're wanting in that final is because it's so long, they're going to hit their max speed, and then it's time in max speed. So the biggest advantages are going to be getting more speed. And so she comes in there with an increase in target speed. So those ones are going to be big. It's just like same reason why Symboli Rudolph's going to be big on hers. Increases max speed. So those are the big Umas. You got Ogre Cap. Very similar. Target speed increases. Massive. If you have really high power, which you should be getting with her. Because Ogre Cap is 20 and 10. Right at the end, if she's just trailing behind, her ult can push her right through the edge. And so those are the big ones you're looking at on the speed side of things. The negative is it does make the units like Maruzensky and Taiki Shuttle much, much weaker because there's those final corner ones. So pretty irrelevant on that, which is going to make them a little bit harder to play on this race. And if you definitely want to use like a front runner on this one, which front runners are going to be a possibility on this one, you're just going to have to kind of get the ults to carry it. And the biggest ult, if you're going to run a front runner, is Seiyun Sky. Now, she's overall going to be an okay, just a general decent Uma going in this, and probably the top pick for front runner if you pull her, just because she gets the best strength from her ult. But her ult is basically, if she activates it, it's almost like, and you have the right stats, it could effectively be a win. Like, it just bursts her off right off the bat, going into the final leg. And so, but the biggest negative of it is, while it's super strong and it's pretty much required for your front runners, is it requires her to be in first place. So she has to hold first place. And so if you have two front runners and they're competing for first, and she's not in that place when it's supposed to trigger, then she doesn't get the activation. And so while your front runners, just all the front runners can be good as long as you have this, as well as the correct skills, groundwork being kind of the core to it, plus all the others, it can work. They're going to definitely be the hardest to build, which means probably your whales are going to try and build them, which also brings into play another very good Uma for this race, but not for winning it, but preventing someone else from winning. Almost like, it's not the nice nature in that you're draining the stamina, but you want to block a front runner from being able to activate the skill. And that is going to be a Smart Falcon. I mentioned this when I talked about how good she is as a racer. Now, she's a top dirt user, but her goal in this race, if you want to build her and bring her here, is her goal is not going to be able to win. She's going to get passed up in the end, the very end. So she's not going to be able to win it. But what you can do with her is you can build her as a front runner and use her basically to prevent a Seiyun Sky from activating her ult by holding that lead long enough to prevent it. And that's because hers is when she's so she becomes empowered against seeding the spotlight when about to lose lead. So on the straight, so as Seiyun Sky is trying to pass her, she's going to activate this ult, increase her speed and acceleration, and keep herself in the lead, preventing the Seiyun Sky ult from activating too early if it's ever going to activate, giving time for everybody else to catch up and then blow by it, and then it's too late for Seiyun Sky or any other front runner that has it inherited. And so that's what her basic role will be if you want to go that direction, is someone to block a front runner with her. You're still going to have to build her strong enough to be able to hold the lead. But she's not going to be able, it's going to be, while it's possible, but it's going to be very hard to get her strong enough to maintain and actually overall win the race with it. But it is always a possibility. You can make that work. Front runners are going to be possible to work with here with Seiyun Sky's ult. Just know they are going to be the hardest to build, because right now we don't have any, you don't have, I don't think, any front runners that come built in with recovery. That's going to basically be some Maruzensky that has that, and none of them have groundwork built in, meaning you're going to have to get that inherited, because all the sport cards that have groundwork, if we take a look at it here, are terrible cards. So if you, I got to activate them all again. If you look at groundwork, like, none of these cards you're going to want to use. They're all power cards, I believe, except Gold Chip, which Gold Chip's bad for the reason I already mentioned. Ugly Cap's another power card. Very similar reason that this one's bad, even as a power card. It's just a crap ton of skills on it. And so, and then it's this one, another Guts card, and then just a bunch of rares that are basically the same cards, just a rare equivalent of SSRs. So overall, very hard to get skills, so you have to, it's just adding more to the RNG and trying to build them, because not only do you need to inherit a long S, now you need to inherit groundwork. And being a front runner, you're going to have to really grind out those parents for your front runner specifically, which delays your time to grind out your end closer, because you're going to want definitely multiple Umas going into this, because your nice natures in that are going to be a little bit weaker in terms of what they're capable of doing. But it is possible just know it's going to probably be harder. I would consider the Frontrunner looks like it's going to be harder to build than even the Narita Taishin at this current point. Because Narita Taishin kind of comes built in with everything. It's just, she has terrible stat bonuses that makes her hard to build. And so that's kind of looking at some of the best Umas for it. Like I said, like Major McQueen, like a lot of your ones that have natural long A's, most of them are fairly good from what I can tell. Goldship and Narita Taishin just looking to be the strongest and the meta going into this one. From everything I've been reading, that's going to be like that for a while. Especially like Frontrunners until we get an easier time building them, like with Summer Mruzinski and that. And as well as cards that make it easier to get like groundwork in that. It's going to be a little tough. While possible, and they are meta, it's going to be tough to build them. Similar reason to Narita Taishin, like I already mentioned. But this is kind of like just looking at my current affinity right now, but you can kind of see also the best Umas when it comes to making parents as well. You just constantly look at this to see what matches what you want to build, because you want to work from the bottom up. So building your grandparents first. Once you got grandparents, building your parents off of them, then into building your ace. And it's going to be very important for this one because the stat requirements to, if you're trying to win, I have to clarify that. If you're trying to win the whole thing, that 1200, 1200, 1000, 400, 300 is trying to win the whole thing. If you're just trying to like make it to the finals, great, even if it's grade B finals, so you can potentially get like a silver or a bronze or a gold, all you really probably need to do to meet that is get at least the stamina cap so you can survive the race and then have as high of speed and power as you can get from there. And that should hopefully push you to the finals. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on some of the Umas, kind of looking through them here, just make sure that I'm not missing any that I specifically mentioned. Like I said, like Taiki Shuttle and Mruzinski are going to be much weaker on this one, simply because their alts are pretty much irrelevant. You can still build them. You're just going to have to rely much more on inherits. But all your long runners are going to be much better, the ones with better inherits and all that. Kind of the main big ones I already mentioned, like Symboli, Rudolph for your Major McQueen. All of them are going to be pretty good. Just know that you're looking for those heavy speeds and straightaway type skills versus the corners that you dealt with in the Taurus Cup. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That pretty much covers everything I can kind of think of on the parents. I'm going to continue to make videos and updating. I might have another one on good Umas as well, as I kind of continue to do more research and learn this race. As well as once I start testing them out, once I start building aces and that for it and actually doing test runs. But yeah, that'll be it for now. And if you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.